In Brooklyn's former industrial area, Gowanus, you will find Tankhouse on 450 Warren Street. Designed by So Ill, the project is generous with open space, containing 3 courtyards, abundant with natural light and balconies, and conscious of interior-exterior transitions. Housing shortages, shrinking apartments, and rising prices have made urban living less attractive than ever. Shared housing concepts respond to these issues by trading personal space for common amenities while fostering vibrant communities. This is Frame Views, Communal Living.
The genesis of this project actually happened many years before, when in 2008 and 2009, right, there was the financial crisis in New York. At that time, we actually had this dream to build a communal living situation together with a group of friends. And we thought we need to find a way to share more, because we don't need a gigantic kitchen every day. It was not possible to break through this financial conundrum. One of us had to have all the money, so to say, to buy the land or to get the construction loan.
In a city like New York, the big question is, how does one create attractive density without sacrificing open spaces?
And so normally, any developer would minimize the ratio between gross and net. You want to sell as much as possible and don't build any additional space. We turned it around completely in this project. We completely maxed out the gross. But the growth we built were all exterior spaces. There were exterior walkways, additional balconies, additional entries. So basically a soft buffer around the unit itself, where the unit can expand, so to say, into the exterior.
To promote openness, the walkways of the building were left completely exposed, which brings numerous benefits.
And so it didn't have to be climatized, it didn't have to be finished, right? It's very raw, simple exterior walkways. And because of that, it radically transforms the experience of living, because it means you're actually outside all the way till you meet your front door. And so in that, you're much more connected to everything around you, the city around you, and you have sort of a shared experience also of coming to your home. So every unit has at least windows to 3 sides and sometimes 4 sides, and at least 2 balconies. Then there is a shared garden, a shared courtyard on one side on the street. There's the shared path to your home, which is the sort of vertical exterior walkways. And then there's a shared roof terrace on the top of the building where people can come together.
But with all this openness, how does the project deal with privacy?
Generally, it's very open, the project. It has a lot of open windows, but those, that are facing communal spaces, we sometimes use frosted glass. The units that are a little bit higher up are a little bit more private, because there's less people, so to say, drifting through the building. But it is not a building for misanthropes. The hardest was to break the mold of the model. And I think a city like New York City is not a space where people like to take risk, because it's an expensive city. Generally, sort of cynicism is like the hardest thing to beat, and skepticism, right? And so, for us, it was really exciting about this project, and really exciting about, these guys who wanted to try it with us, because it was their first project. They wanted to change something. They also wanted to sort of make a point. Architects can do a whole bunch of things, but a lot of the heavy lifting has to happen in the financial models behind housing. And often you're pushed into certain ratios, into certain areas, you have to perform into certain ways. And I think it's very important that there are people who are trying to challenge those housing models, meaning the financial models. There's 2 sort of non-residential units in there as well, which are on the ground floor. And one of them is actually occupied by one of the people that, we started this commune idea 10 years ago. She's actually in that space. She runs a non-profit arts organization that is helping sort of underrepresented artists get exposure. And then there is a young sports trainer who on the corner started his small gym, which people in the building can use, but also people in the community can use. And actually that really bridges, people coming together. It's not just the hardware, it's also some of the software that you need to think about when you sort of make these spaces, and what are the spaces that communities gather around. often bigger is considered more luxurious, which I think is a notion that we should challenge, right? I think you can make better design, more compact design, and in that sense create higher density, not as a compromise, but as a quality. So I think one of the hopes is that we designers are better at designing more compact spaces that don't, compromise our idea of quality. Obviously, and we should not deny, there is an incredible lack of good housing for the world population as a whole. One of the hopes as well is that this is not just something that can be afforded by few, but that some of these qualities can be accessible to everyone.